Hello, everybody. How are you guys? I hope you guys are good, and welcome back to another video. Today, we are doing a trial recap on the Georgia versus Leilani Simon murder trial. She is on trial for ending the life of her 2-year-old son, Quinton. Now, in this video, we are going to recap trial days 1 through 3. Honorable Judge Tammy Stokes residing, Chatham County, Georgia. Okay, so for those of you that don't know or not familiar with the case or not familiar with the inside out of everything, Henry Moss was Quinton's dad. They had split before she even knew she was pregnant with him. He has not been a part of Quinton's life at all. So the night that this happened was the night of October 4th, but in the early morning hours of October 5th. Now, Leilani claims that she woke up, her front door was open, and her child was gone. Now, CPS was going to remove the children. BJ, which is Leilani's mom, had agreed that she was going to take the children so that they would not be put into CPS custody. Now, in the night in question, BJ and her husband were out of town, so Leilani had the kids. Leilani was never supposed to be alone with the kids. She was only supposed to have supervised visits. So that's an issue. But anyway, she had the children that night. My one question is Zane's bed and Quinton's pack and play where he slept were in Leilani's section of the house. Now, I wonder if they had just been put in there when BJ went out of town, or if they had been staying in there previously with Leilani, because that had not been mentioned. So I do still have a question about that. But anyway, so her relationship with Daniel at this time was real rocky. He didn't want anything to do with her, didn't want to hang out with her, didn't want to have sex with her, nothing. He just basically was over her, and she was feeling very unloved, undesired, ignored. You know, she wasn't getting the attention and the love that she was seeking. So that was really, really eating at her. That was really on her mind all the time. That was like the biggest problem in her life. Now, this is all what we learned during the defense's opening statements. Okay. Now, she had made a video in her car contemplating on ending her life and driving into a river. So she starts out by saying goodbye to the children. She had kind things to say about Zane, her oldest. She, had loving things to say about Sky, the baby. When it came to saying goodbye to Quinton, all she really had to say was, "You're the middle child. You're happy all the time. I wish I could see what kind of man you would be." Not really as loving and as caring as what she had said about the 2 other kids, but it is what it is. She goes on to say, "Well, I can't love myself, so how can I love y'all? Blah, blah, blah." And then at the end goes to tell Danny how it's all his fault that she's in this position and that he needs to take care of her kids because he couldn't love her, but he damn sure better love her kids. So let's go to the morning of October 4th. Leilani and Danny take the kids to the babysitter, Michelle McCarta, who lives across the street, around 5:30 in the morning. They both go to work. They work at a warehouse. They both go to work. They clock in around 6 in the morning, and they clock out around 8. Now, the reason that they clocked out so early was she had a tooth problem. So they went to the dentist. She got a tooth pulled, and they went back home and kind of chilled out the rest of the day. She went to sleep, and Daniel was up cleaning the living area, whatever. So at about 4:30, 5 o'clock, they picked the kids up. They did dinner, bath, bed, the whole routine. Now, according to the defense attorney, this is where he puts in what he believes happened. I believe she killed him, got in the car with his body, and drove to a dumpster and threw him away like a piece of trash. Then she went home and went right to bed. Woke up the next morning to report to the police that he had been abducted. Now, she goes on, and earlier in the night, she had actually made a trip to the dealer's house, and she was seen at Circle K on the security camera walking into the store. At 10:32 p.m., she sent a text to Danny saying, gonna run to 204, I guess. Now, 204 is the code word for the dealer. She was at the dealer's from 10:45 to 10:55 that night, which is very quick because normally she would go to the dealer's and be there anywhere from around 45 minutes or later. But we'll talk about that when it comes up a little bit later. But she was only there for 10 minutes. At 10:49 p.m., she made an $80 Cash App payment to Timothy Weston. That's whose home she was at. Her brother got home while she was still out, said hi to Danny, said hi to the kids, and at this point, Quinton was fine. She got home at 11:10 p.m. from the run. She, in her own words, she was the only one up and active in the middle of the night. Now think about this. So she obviously does not admit this right away, but within the trial from day 1 to 3, you come to learn that she was on Percocets, on cocaine. And so first of all, she's on Percocets, she's doing coke all throughout the night. She's smoking weed to counteract the cocaine. And she's in pain because of her tooth. So she's got that going on. And then she is also in this state of mind where she's depressed, stressed, pissed off, irritated that she's not getting enough attention from Daniel, that she doesn't feel the love that she's supposed to. You know, she's got all this going on in her head. Doesn't make for a very good, doesn't make for a very good night, right? So around 1 a.m. is when the defense attorney is saying that Quinton was killed. A little after 1, she arrives to the dumpster and throws the body in there. And this is at 1:17 a.m. She drives home, goes to bed, and her phone is locked from 2:01 a.m. to 9:13 a.m. That's while she was asleep. Danny wakes up a little after 5 to get ready to go to work. No, she was up all night. So he tried to wake her up for work, but he can't get her up. She's not going. And he was so frustrated with her not getting up because they were trying to save money. He was so frustrated with her not getting up that honestly, he didn't even think to go and check on the kids, right? He just tried to wake her up, couldn't get her up. So he texted the babysitter and he said that the kids were going to stay home with her since she wasn't working that day. So he gets to work. He clocks in at 6:11 a.m. He clocks out again at 9:15 a.m. So he was only there for 3 hours. Now he clocks out because at 9:14 a.m., he gets a call from Leilani telling him that Q has been abducted. Q's missing. The front door was open. Nobody knows where he is. Now, here's where the defense attorney wants to point out another lie that she has made, because her door had a sensor on it. You know, it would, every time the door was opened, it would notify the sensor would go off and it would notify the company. Her front door was never open until 9:22 a.m. And this was after Danny left for work. Never open until 9:22 a.m. So as she's on the phone with Daniel, telling him that Quinton's gone, Quinton's missing, blah, 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 is when she opens the door. The door was not open when she woke up. She then calls 911, and the cops get there just before 10 a.m. Now, of course, she never mentions the trip to the dumpster or the trip to the dealer. The cops know this because they have gone through her text messages. You know, we're at trial at this point. So this is all being said during day one, during the opening testimony, opening statements. She told, now, after the detective, one of the detectives has walked up to her and he was like, "You didn't go anywhere last night?" And she was like, no, didn't go anywhere. He's like, are you sure you didn't go anywhere where maybe somebody could have followed you back from? She was like, nope, didn't go anywhere. And then she could start to sense, obviously, that something was not, like, he obviously knows something because of this line of questioning, the way he's being, whatever. So she says, oh, well, I did go out at one point in the night to get Orajel from a friend at the Chevron. Okay. She said her friend Misty that she used to work with. Now, Chevron is right directly across the street from the Azalea Park where the dumpster was. She said at 2 a.m. she went to go get Orajel from a friend because she couldn't sleep. It's crazy because right as you're watching this cop, as you're watching this investigator, this detective talk to her and ask her these questions, and she's telling him, oh, wait, I did go out for a little while. You can see Danny he turns around and he's just like, oh my God, what did she do? Like, he knew at that moment that something was not right and she was not being truthful. And then she looks at her 360 app and she goes, oh, it wasn't even 2. I was home at 1:25. So I was literally gone for 12 minutes. She said that she tried to call Circle K to see if they had Orajel, but they didn't. So then she called her friend Misty to see if she had some, and she did. Well, at some point during an interview, she let the cops check her phone, and there was no call to Circle K, and there was no call to this former coworker, Misty. The cops end up tracking Misty down. Turns out her name's actually Missy, not Misty. So she didn't even get that right. She hadn't talked to Leilani in months. And this whole Orajel story was nonsense. So she then tells the police that she went to the dealers, but not to buy drugs. She went to pay off a $20 past debt for fronting drugs from before. But that's when they have the Cash App payment that she had actually paid Tim Weston $80. I mean, do people think, it's 2024. Do you really think you're going to get away with these things? Do you really think the cops are not going to check every single thing you do? So October 5th, she's being interviewed. She's denying everything. She's sticking to her Orajel story. On October 8th, she's interviewed again at the FBI field office in Savannah, again, sticking to her story. On October 12th, she was interviewed again at the FBI office. She said 100% sure that she met with Misty, whose real name is Missy, to get Orajel, and then says that Misty was smoking crack. So that's probably why she's not recalling it correctly. A few minutes after that, she goes on to say, well, I never actually spoke to her, but I did drive by her house. So totally changes her story. She then says, well, I found Orajel in my car when I got back to my house that night. So I did actually technically get Orajel, but I didn't buy it. I found it in my car. And then she goes on to say, and you guys had mentioned before that something about me throwing out trash. Oh, I did. I did throw some trash away, some stinky, spoiled food that was smelling up my car. It was spoiled shrimp pasta. But I didn't think to mention it because it was such a regular thing that I didn't think it mattered. She said, and I quote, And here we go with, you know, people will say things. People will say, with every lie comes out a little bit of truth. I always say that. So here she says, I seen the opportunity and I took it and threw it out. Oh, she seen the opportunity and she threw it out, but it wasn't trash. It was her child. So, allegedly. So, she admits to taking Percocets, cocaine, weed. And then she says, well, my faulty memory is probably due to the cocaine. She goes on to say, I was in a lot of high emotion and in a lot of pain, and I don't know if I did something to him. For whatever y'all find, I would take responsibility, but I'm hoping to God that y'all come home with him alive and well. Like I may have, but I don't remember. So she's now laid out this scenario where she's on these 3 different types of drugs. She's, you know, she's in pain. She's all emotional about her problems with her boyfriend. And then offers up to say, I don't know if I did something to him, but if I did, I don't remember. For whatever you find, I will take responsibility, but I'm hoping to God that y'all come home with him alive and well. Good Lord. Now, on October 18th, police announced the landfill search. Truck 3909 from Waste Pro is the truck that picked up the dumpster where she had dumped her child that night, allegedly. On October 24th, she did a news interview with WTOC. Now, this was 19 days after he was first initially reported missing. Of course, during this news interview, she's playing the victim. Someone abducted my baby. We just want him back. We want justice. Blah, 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 blah. Then she turns it around. Okay, so Danny leaves her. Danny left her, moved out. You know, he was pretty much done. So then she turns it around and says that Danny was the last one to see him alive, and Danny was the one driving around that night, not her. Her phone was just in the car, pointing the finger at him for what happened to her son. So she's already named this friend that as an alibi that turned out was a lie, and then accused. And then after they said, listen, we know you didn't meet with her, she then tries to throw her under the bus and say, well, she's a crackhead, so can't really believe what she says. And then she tries to turn it around on her boyfriend, who was actually kind and loving towards the children, and say, oh, well, he must have did it. It must be him. After she's already come out and said, well, I might have, but I don't remember. I don't really know what kind of state of mind I was in at the time. On November 18th, 2022, baby Quinton's remains are found at the landfill. Now, as this is being played in court, Leilani is sitting there showing no emotion whatsoever, no tears, no remorse, no nothing. Now, when they find his remains, this is her last interview, November 18th. She says, and I quote, I don't remember hurting him at all. I don't remember taking him or doing anything like this. Now, at this point, she's sitting in an interview room, and they have the pictures of the bones that have been identified as his. And I will go on to list what bones those were. She's got the bones sitting in front of her. Okay. Now she says, I remember coming home. When I got home, I hit another line. I smoked a blunt. I got in bed, almost like everything was just normal. On the way home, I didn't understand exactly why I was even in the car. It just doesn't make sense. So at this point, she knows she's done, right? So she's coming up with, she's got to say something. So she's coming up with this, okay, I must have been in a moment of drugged in psychosis, or just I had a mental break from 10 p.m. until she got home until she was on her way home after dumping her son's body, allegedly. During those, she has no memory of any of that. And what she said was she hit train tracks on her way home, and that's what jolted her back into reality. And she woke up and she's like, what am I doing in my car? Okay. Now, witness one, the state called Sergeant Bobby Stewart from the Chatham County Police Department. The first thing she tells him, because obviously she's like, okay, my son was missing, the door was open, blah, blah, blah. He's like, do you know anybody that could have taken him or would have wanted to take him? And the first thing she says, well, my ex might have taken him. Okay, state witness number two, Corporal Cody Jepson from the Chatham County Police Department. Witness three, Detective Sean Wilkins from the Chatham County Police Department. Witness four, Detective Kiana Robbins, Chatham County Police Department. Witness five, Eugene Foster, retired police officer with the Chatham County Police Department. He's the current police instructor at CCPD part-time. Now, Eugene Foster is the one who walked up to her after he had found out that she actually did leave that night from Kiana Robbins, who had found her car driving around on the cameras, the street cameras. So he goes up to her, did you leave? He was the one that was questioning her, and she was like, yeah, oh, by the way, yeah, I left for Oragel. Here's my 360 app. Check it. Okay, so that was him. Now, that was the end of day one. That was the end of day one. The state called 5 witnesses. That was all the information that I just gave you was all the important information that was given out during day one. Now, let's move on to day two. Again, those of you just joining, this is a recap of day 1 through 3 of the Georgia versus Leilani Simon murder trial, who is on trial for ending the life of her son, Quinton Simon. Okay, so starting on day 2 of the trial, we are starting with witness number 6, Philip Shanker with the Chatham County Police Department. Now, he's the one that took all the photos of the residents. There was no forced entry into the home, no struggle. Took over 400 photos that day. Now, they had a photo that on camera, when they showed it in court, it was bright, so it kind of looked like blood on the pillow that was in the pack and play, but it ended up being vomit. And he said that, and our next witness goes on to say that. Now, the next state's witness number 7 is Detective Marion Lemons. Now, she said that as soon as she walked into the home, she could smell vomit. She walked up to the pack and play. She was like, yep, you can smell vomit. It's very strong. Now, she was the one who went through Leilani's phone, got permission from Leilani, went through her phone during this interview right here that you are seeing on the screen. Now, she said that Danny was acting totally normal. He was never mean to the kids. He was never, rough with the kids or anything like that. Leilani said that he was afraid to even pop the kids, like spank them on the bottoms. She did go on to say that she thought that Danny was talking to other women because he didn't want to be with her, yada, yada, yada. I'm sure it had nothing to do with the fact that she seems to be completely unhinged, allegedly. Now, on 9/17, 9/18, 9/21, she repeatedly would send Danny these text messages to join my Life 360 app so she could find out what he was doing, where he was going, blah, blah, blah. Now, this all started on 9/9 when she started accusing Danny of cheating, not loving her, not wanting anything to do with her. You know the story. Okay, and then state witness 8 comes up for a very short period of time, Agent Brian Osden with FBI in Atlanta. Now, he was not on the stand very long, answered a couple of things, and then was done. And then we went back to Detective Marion Lemons. No, there wasn't a whole lot of notes that I took for day 2 because it was really text messages from Leilani to Daniel about how she felt, how her feelings were hurt, how she, just wanted him to love her like he used to. A lot of that. I didn't feel the need to write any of that down. So let's move on to trial day 3. Now we start trial day 3 with Detective Lemons on the stand. Now here's where they point out that on October 1st, 2022, Leilani searched on her browser on her phone, is it common for a mother to have resentment or even anger towards her child because of the father or another reason? Okay, now let's move on to witness 10. Dr. Angie Christensen. She is an FBI forensic anthropologist at Quantico. Now, on November 21st, 2022, she received evidence that was all bagged up that came from the landfill, bones, with soft tissue matter attached. Now, she just does bones, so she had to remove all the soft tissue to study the bones. The bones that she received that were human and that were proven to be Quinton's were his foot, a left and right femur, left and right tibia, one fibula, right humerus, right ulna, left heel bone, 5 left ribs, a cranial bone, a right temporal bone, and a left cradle. Now, why are his remains in this state? Because he was put into a dumpster, picked up from the dumpster, put into a garbage truck, compacted, taken to a landfill where they searched for a month before they found his remains. It's honestly a miracle that they found his remains at all. Next witness, Daniel Youngkin. Sky's Leilani's youngest child's father. Okay, her boyfriend, Danny, at the time, that is mentioned throughout this trial. Now, he currently, at the time of testifying, lives in Orlando, Florida. He got the heck out of here. Got the heck out of the area. Now, she originally had moved to North Carolina to live with him. They met on Snapchat, social media, whatever, ended up meeting each other. And then she ended up moving to North Carolina to live with him and his parents while her kids were at home with her mother. Then they moved to Georgia, and they moved in with BJ in Georgia. Danny loved the kids. He had nothing but good things to say about the kids. It just, him and her, it wasn't working. So he gave the FBI permission to monitor his phone. Him and Leilani were in a hotel room one night on October 8th of 2022, and he was trying to question her about the Orogel story because he just knew that it was BS, that it was not true. He knew she was lying. So he's trying to confront her about it. She keeps saying, I swear to God, I pinky promise, that's all that happened. I went and got Orogel. That's it. Over and over and over again. And then she goes on to start crying and yelling and saying, you're supposed to be on my side, but you're on the side of the FBI, yada, yada, yada. All he's trying to do, because he just knows, right, that she's lying. She's not being truthful. And he's got it in his heart that she did something to her child. And then, so as you're watching this video of him and her, there's actually four 4 or 5 separate videos, or at least they're broken down in that way, of this conversation between the two of them. And then you hear her say, and she yells it, "I do not know what happened to that baby." And again, here you go with, I do not know what happened to that baby. Not, I don't know what happened to my baby. Not, I don't know, it's just, I don't know what happened to that baby. And to me, that's just very impersonal. That's just not how you would be, obviously. Then she says, "You're on the effing FBI side. You're supposed to be on mine." Where he goes on to tell them, "Yes, I agreed to have my phone monitored by the FBI. I had nothing to hide. They knew about my drug use, yada, yada, yada." And that concludes trial day 3. There are a lot of breaks during these trials. They take a lot of breaks, let me tell you. But it's good, I guess. Otherwise, people might fall asleep or not, not be paying enough attention. So those are all the major points. Those are everything. That's everything that is real important to the case that was discussed on trials, in the trial so far from day 1 through 3. Those were all the witnesses that were interviewed, everything that was important. I made notes on, and I wanted to just, because I went through and watched day 1 through 3 today. And I mean, listen, people don't got 7 hours to sit there and watch a trial. Like, people just don't have that kind of time. So I figured that I'd break it down this way. I'll do day 1 through 3 today. Tomorrow night, I will try to have 3 through 6 done. And then they'll be on break for over the weekend. So I'll get you guys all caught up. And look, you don't even got to sit through 18 hours of testimony. You got to hear all in 30 minutes. So please do me a favor, hit that like button for me. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make sure you click that bell so you get any future videos that I do. Let me hear your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I'll be back with you guys tomorrow. I love you guys. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay safe. Keep asking those hard questions. Keep spreading that light, and I will see you all next time.